Okay, for this month, I decided to come back to the topography video from episode 2, mostly because this has been a rather hectic and weird month. Had a cold and bunch of work stuff, and I'm also looking at some courses. This might end up being the last video for some time, so if I don't upload next month, that's why. I mean, not that anyone's actually watching these things, but just feel like it's something I should say. But yeah, just going to be doing something simple for today. In this case, coloring in the topography stuff we worked on earlier. So to recap where we were, this is the basic output field, and then I can add variation. So adding to the top one means random numbers just everywhere between 0 and 1, or whatever the number I select here up here is. And then this one does boxes of 2, then boxes of 4, and this one does boxes of 8, which is the whole thing, which is weird, kind of artifact of kind of previous ideas, I guess. And the final one makes a slope field, which is easier to see if I bring this up to 10. And there we go. Now, the idea is that these numbers are kind of difficult to see, and it would be a lot easier if they were colored in like a normal height map would be. So, let's make it. Okay, in terms of colors, this is all done in Tkinter, the library for this stuff in Python. Specifically, the background slate gray you see here, that's what selects the color. I set most of the stuff as slate gray, I believe, except for the buttons, which are background white, foreground black, foreground being the color, so I can change those if it's not easy to see. But yeah, it's mostly just changing these colors for every single one of these. That's going to be another long list just like this, but I think I can actually even include it in this update labels section, or rather just copy it and then place text with background, I believe. So, first I'll test that and make sure that works. See you then. Okay, so here's the basic setup screen. I don't have to input any values onto this, but I'll just do that for the sake of illustration. So I'll just do the slope thing and click go. And now it's all red. Yeah, it doesn't match the numbers yet, so that will be the next part. See you then. Okay, so pretty much what I said earlier seemed to work. I basically copied the original thing with the text and array total list down and replaced it with background color and color array. I also created this new function for making the colors, which is up here, this bit here, and basically, well, I also added in the array color list up here to define it, and basically just copied down the same sort of code as before. Just clear the previous list, and then for all these things, then just color it red. Just as a sort of proof of concept, which I will show you now. Okay, so this is the basic idea of what I'm going for. I added in that the make colors function checks the total array, so you can get the values out of that, specifically the high and low, and basically does calculation, basically linear equation to translate that into a number between 0 and 7. I made 8 colors because I figured everything else is in 8, so might as well do it that way. Yeah, and basically it will just take the integer, so basically the floor of that function, and then append that to the color list. So I'll show you that in a moment. Alright, so here's the basic thing, and I'll just do slope of, let's go up to 8 like we normally do, and there's some colors. Now, it's not quite what I was expecting. There should be a green line in the middle. This is probably due to rounding errors in the computer itself, because it should be like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 kind of a thing, but it's 0, 1, 2, 3, 5. This goes to show that computers aren't perfect. They sometimes will make slight mistakes that, especially if you're taking like cutting off rounding stuff, then it will compound very quickly. But yeah, another glitch that's important to note is that if I do 0, nothing happens. This is because in the background it's throwing an error because I'm doing 7 divided by the sum of 0 minus 0, which is essentially dividing by 0, which that doesn't work very well. So yeah, going to have to put in a few exceptions for that. Have a few ideas on how to do this to make sure that also a few other errors don't kick in. And I'll see you then. Okay, so I've added in a few error catching systems. Most notably the error color. I set that as gray, kind of a neutral, sort of no color kind of thing, I guess. Which I then basically went through the system and basically if high is equal to low, in other words dividing by 0, stick in gray. Same for if the constant, the index we've calculated is above 7 or below 0, basically out of this range, then also make it gray, just so that's easier. I also changed the factor up to 7.5 because if it's 7, then it will only do the last color, which I also changed indigo and violet here instead of violet and pink, because turns out violet is actually pretty pink in color-ish. Like, I mean, it's noticeable, the difference, but it's still not what I was expecting, I guess. Like, so I added an indigo, which is a much darker purple in Python systems. There's a whole website for that. I'll see if I can link that in the description if I remember to do that. And yeah, so I found that if you have it at 7, it will not include the last color, and if you have it at 8, it will often throw errors because the last color is now 8. So I made it 7.5, so it rounds down to 7, giving us a good range. I could probably put that at 7.9 if I was wanting to push things. Actually, I'll try that now, I guess. Do a little experiment. Should work, but again, it's mostly just tolerance and error handling, especially in terms of the previously mentioned rounding errors, which I think I found some solutions to, sort of, well, not really solutions, just ways of using the system that might mitigate those issues, which I will show now. Alright, so as usual, the original screen, I'll just do the 0 error. Well, actually, I'll do that the same way I did before, so go up to 10 first and press go. Again, you have these weird rounding errors on the edges, and then if I go back to 0, it turns gray because now you are dividing by 0, so it trips that system. Now, for dealing with these rounding errors, I found the best, at least a quick solution. I could probably fiddle with the code and try and make it better, but because of how binary converts and because of all the different rounding errors, I found that the easiest way to mitigate that is to just add more granularity, and in this case that means adding more, just a bigger range of numbers. In this case I found 40 seems to work pretty well. As you can see, it matches the colors I was expecting. So for a final test, I'll do the same thing we did before, which I believe I had it set as 1, 2, 4, and no, actually I think it was 2, 4, 8, and 4 was the previous one. So in that case, I guess I'd have to bring these up to like 80, which that's going to be a lot of clicks. I'll just go up to 40 and then I'll bring the other ones down. Just, again, this is more proof of concept than actually trying to get stuff there, so I'll just quickly that up to 20, And I can't really see this very well because the recording thing is in the way, but I'm pretty sure that's 10. And let's go. Wow, this looks like a patchwork, and you can very clearly see the blocks now. Yeah, unfortunately. But yeah, you have basically now you can see like this area here is a low patch, and right next to it is some high patches. So definitely would probably want this to be higher. I'll try 30. That's closer to what I was aiming for. So yeah, again, low patches on this side, and which is sensible because the slope goes that way. And then yeah, so like if I was doing this as an actual topography thing, I'd probably put the orange as the coastline sort of, and just kind of wiggle it around with probably this lone patch being like a lake or possibly just a dip in the land that would flood if it was connected, and then up here would be like mountains and stuff, and the 65 for instance would be some highlands. So yeah. Oh, and also just remember, I guess the main issue would be remembering what colors are what, and that like because it feels like these darker colors should be all higher, but it's actually the blue that's higher than the green, or I suppose I should say the cyan. This can all be sorted out by fiddling around with the colors. I'm not going to do that right now. Actually, I'll just turn this stuff off so I can talk about what's going on and I guess the future of the channel for a little bit. But yeah, basically, this has been a hectic month, like I mentioned at the start of this, and I'm actually recording this really a lot later than my other videos in the month. So, yeah, kind of not sure where things are going to go. I've been considering stopping this project for a while, either just for next month while I sort things out, or possibly longer. I'm not sure yet. I'm looking at taking some courses, some program courses actually, and also changing jobs and other things, and possibly even going back to university. So, yeah, things might change, and I might end this project completely, although I kind of want to keep going, but at the same time, I've also not had the same enjoyment I thought I would, just not because I don't enjoy these projects as much as just having to remember to record and talk about it is still a bit of an adjustment period. I still want to try and do this, of course, especially like pushing myself beyond my comfort zone. It's just, yeah, just reassessing some things and, of course, dealing with life stuff, so probably going to be a hiatus, hopefully not permanent. So if you don't see me for a while, that's why. Again, pretending that there are people watching this. Keep doing that for some reason. Anyways, this is a long and rambly way of saying that there might not be a video next month. I guess we can call this 5 episodes season 1. Who knows? We'll see where things go in the future. Bye.